Hello, everybody. How far out can you hear me? Raise your hand out there if you can hear this. All right, good, good. We got some good stuff. Well, a couple of first things. So safety first. We'd like everybody to just watch out for each other. Be sure to stay hydrated. We've got some folks. We actually have the superintendent and the general manager. They're out in a golf cart over here with their daughter and some helpers, and they're giving some free water out. We'd like you to take advantage of that. Sit in the shade tents when you need to, and over here, you can see me, I'm right here. Over here is our water station. And that water station isn't very busy. We'd like to see that water station a little bit more busy. So get over there and get yourself some water and take it easy. The other thing I want to mention is sometimes in the morning people have the impression that we're going to do something with the locomotive, and we're not. The locomotive is going to stay right there. You're not going to see any steam coming out of it. The steam is really hot, and you really can't see it anyway. So I apologize if somehow there's an expectation that it was going to do something, but it's common we get that question. So how about for starters, we blow the whistle. You want to hear the whistle, everybody? So that's what the whistle sounds like at half of its pressure. It's on 150 pounds per square inch. The steam temperature at that temperature, if I remember right, is 388 degrees. When we're running, the steam temperature is 425. By the time it goes through the superheaters, it's almost 750, almost 800 degrees. That's why the whistle is so loud when we're running. So let me segue off into the other part of why do we blow the whistle. Anybody want to know why we blow the whistle?
Warning.
A warning for safety. And safety is, we really want to remind everybody to never stand on the railroad tracks. Everybody laughs when I say this, but don't take a selfie on a railroad track.
I saw that.
Don't take a selfie close to the railroad track. I have seen a few selfies in the last 1,000 miles, and they're too close. That's not a good place to get a family picture. It's not a good Christmas card photograph. It's not a yearbook picture. That's not the right place for it. Stand back. I have seen some models and some other people standing back 50 to 100 feet, waiting forever. How long they wait for the big boy to pass by. Click, they get a really good picture. That's what we like. Okay. Now that I'm done talking about that, I want to recognize all the wonderful people here helping us. It's such a blessing for us to do this. Those of us that work on the locomotive, people, they get to know our names, and that's really fun, and we really deeply appreciate that. Behind the scenes, there are people that work very hard to get this happening here. And right in front of me is my two friends from corporate communications, Rachel and Karen. I've been on the road a long time. So please raise your hand, Rachel and Karen. They work in our corporate communications, and they do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. They work on our web pages. They help us with social media. They're handling all the big media. We've had billions and billions of hits on our media. With my eyes, I know the auditors may not like the technical details, but I have seen millions of people come out to see the big boy. And it's largely due to the efforts of our colleagues here. Some other members of our group here, over in the golf cart here, we've got Bill Goebbels. Hey Bill, raise your hand. There's Bill Goebbels, he probably can't hear me. Josh Christman, his boss, and his team from Council Bluffs. They're setting up these water stations. They set up the fence. They're working out all the details here. And everybody's been up since about 5 a.m. getting ready for this. So thank you very much, Bill Goebbels, Josh Christman, and your team. When you see Bill driving around in the golf cart, there he is right there. Please thank them. They do great work here. And right over here, we've got Tracy Murray. Tracy by the water station. Curtis Wohlers is with him. They're on the train all the time. They keep the lights on. We've got Doug Garten right there. Doug Garten with the bag of ice. He's the superintendent of this area, along with his boss, Drew Steinkamp, and some other member of his team. So thank you very much for the support here. All right, thank you, everybody.
All right, our first question is, why is there an X in front of 4014? Why is there an X in front of 4014? And again, if you have a question, Rachel in the white hat can help you out.
Well, that's a very commonly asked question. So years ago, before we had radios, before we had modern railroad traffic control systems, the lights that you see along the railroad are called CTC, Centralized Traffic Control. The railroad ran all the trains on a timetable schedule. So there was a number for every train had a number. Routine, every single day it was the same thing. Train number 1 went westbound, train number 2 went eastbound. As you needed more trains, you added more numbers. As time went on, there were a lot of trains, a lot of traveling. There were some safety things that happened. They began upgrading the signal systems and gradually evolving to the modern systems that we developed in the 1930s, 40s, and we perfected today. So the X means extra. So back way long ago, when they were still using the number boards, we call those indicator boards. Right up there with an X 4014, not a number board, called an indicator board. On regular locomotives here, you've got 1776, 1616. On the back, we've got painted 1776. Same thing on the 1616. On the front, that you can illuminate at night, those are number boards. We still have that rule today, train identifying number. So the number has to be illuminated there. On the 4014, on the side of the cab, on the headlight, number wings. So what the X means, it's an extra. So that X stayed up there in the indicator boards of all the steam locomotives, but that practice gradually was replaced in the 1950s. They still used a little bit in the late 50s into the early 60s, but by then it went away. So that's what the X means. You're going to get long explanations from me. There you go.
We love it. Okay, so Ed, you and your team have been out since end of April, starting in Roseville, California at mile 0, all the way out to Philly and now back around. What has been your favorite part of this tour so far?
Well, we started in late March, and we left Cheyenne and we went all the way to California. We got into a pretty good snowstorm. So we've seen all 4 seasons already. And people have asked us, what is the favorite part of the trip? And I personally, it's really hard for me to give a good answer there. It's so beautiful. Every day there's a new beautiful experience. There's beautiful crowds of people. There's wonderful things to make us emotional and bring good memories to us. But I think I'd have to think about the Tunkhannock Viaduct, the Lethbridge Viaduct, those big iconic bridges. Is anyone familiar with, I think it's called the Lethbridge State Park?
Yeah.
You're traveling out of nowhere, all of a sudden you come to the mini Niagara Falls. Several beautiful waterfalls. And over the top of that is this beautiful railroad bridge. So those are the few of the places that we've traveled to. Traveling through, this locomotive is a little bit wider than the average train, so we're hitting the trees that the train normally won't hit. The regular trains aren't quite as wide as that big boy, so when we're leaning out of the window, we've got to watch ourselves because we're going to hit a lot of this beautiful green foliage we have this time of year.
Awesome. And if you haven't joined the UP Steam Club, please go on Facebook and join. There's a lot of beautiful photos and drone shots, including the what Ed is referencing. So the next question, Ed, from cold to being operational, how long does it take to steam up and get ready to go?
How long does it take to steam the locomotive up when it's cold? In the old days, when these locomotives were in regular service, they could do it usually within a shift. If there was a situation where they needed a locomotive, they could do it quicker. But that big giant boiler up there, most of what you see from the cab all the way to the front is the boiler, the firebox and smoke box. That is one massive pressure vessel riveted and welded together in one huge, giant, heavy-duty, rugged vessel. Well, it grows over an inch from the time it's room temperature to full operating temperature. So in our world today, we take roughly just say 4 days from the time we're heating it up, putting hot water in it. That takes about a day and a half to fill it full of hot water. And that hot water gradually, nice and even, begins to move that boiler and stretch it out nice. It's not abrupt, it's not fast. It grows, it clunks, it groans a little bit, but it does that over a period of 4 days.
I have a better question than what I asked.
4 days, that's
I'd love to
awesome.
know
So
what
the
they
next question is,
when-
how big is this
when
team,
first came back to
Gene?
life,
And has
right
everybody
after
been out the whole
when the
time?
whistle first blew.
How big is our team? Well, we have 6 of us full-time, and we've got 5 folks that we bring back as contractors that help round out the workforce that it takes to keep this locomotive going. And let's talk a little bit about that. This locomotive brings with it the same logistics and technology that needs care and feeding the same way that it needed back in the 1940s. It takes a lot of oil, it takes a lot of grease. It takes out oil and grease multiple times a day. It takes time to clean it and inspect it and make sure it's ready. Part of our work today, you can see John up top there. He'll be adding boiler chemistry. Right now he's working on washing. We're going to wash the locomotive. Good work, John. So behind the scenes, as I mentioned when we started talking, it's such a privilege for people to know our names and to recognize the work we do. And I want to point out the hard work, oftentimes, that sometimes it's not that it's necessarily overlooked, but it just happens behind the scenes. Over there, out of the tool car, we've got Bruce Kirk looking out. Hi, Bruce. Bruce is a machinist. He makes all kinds of little parts, whether it's a little spring on a door latch in one of the cars that needs replaced, or some complex part of the locomotive. That's what Bruce will do. The other members of the team, Austin, Kurt, Jimmy, Bob, Brent, Ted, you know, we wear multiple hats on the crew, but I look down sitting in the cab of the engine as we're servicing the locomotive, watching them work, watching them sweat, watching them carry the oil jugs, watching them carry the ladders. When we had 5 locomotives, we had to walk 600 feet back to the tool car. We've only got 140 feet now, look at that. And we had 600 feet, and nobody ever complained. So that's how big our crew is. We're a crew of 11, but we're a mighty crew because we've got this team here and the Union Pacific behind us. It's emotional when I talk about it because it's such a privilege we have to do this. We thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Thanks, Ed. So this journey with the big boy has started long before it ever hits the road. You were part of the restoration. Can you tell us a little bit of how that restoration process came about, and then what did it feel like when you blew that whistle for the first time?
The restoration process actually started back in 2010 when I started as the new manager. We had other locomotives in the fleet that needed some serious mechanical work. One of them was a smaller locomotive, the 3985. It took about maybe about 3 weeks of complex discussions about finances, and I got the approval to rebuild that locomotive. And right out of the blue came an opportunity to rebuild a 4000 class locomotive. And that question was posed to me. And it didn't take very long for me to think about that. In my mind, as magnificent as the 3900 class were, the 3985 had been running for 30 years. It had its day in the sun, so to speak. So why don't we restore a 4000? And that question posed to me, I said yes. We began working our way out to California. That's a beautiful story in itself. That was a lot of work. Some of the funnest time we had as a crew because we built a mile of track ourselves, 600 feet at a time, to move that locomotive when it was dead and rusty and sitting for 50 years. We brought it back to the shop and started working on it in 2017. Took us 2.5 years to 2019. The work was long and hard, but again, supported by the UP, we had a date with the 150th anniversary of the driving of the Golden Spike. And what better way to celebrate that anniversary with the 844 and the newly restored 4014. The 4014 was ready to go less than 36 hours before we had to leave. Think about that. Talk about taking it down to the wire. I've got my boss here. I did not mention her, but I want to mention her now, Maureen. She's out there somewhere. Marine's out there somewhere. She and my boss at the time, Christine, came to see me, and they were not going to leave until they witnessed the locomotive moving by itself. So they were with me the very first moment we moved that locomotive. A few days prior to that, we actually blew the whistle. So it was a wonderful time, lots of hard work by this great team. Several of the team that helped us have retired, but several of them are with us. So thank you very much. Why don't we blow the whistle one more time? You want to do that?
Sorry.
Awesome, let's have a round of applause for the team of the whistle. All right, Ed, another question for you. We have a couple of cars right behind the locomotive. What are those cars? What's in them? Tell us about them.
All right, well, the first car, if you will, is the primary tender. For all intents and purposes, that's permanently, and what I mean is connected with a solid drawbar. So the tender on a steam locomotive, it's connected all the time, and it's removed for maintenance and inspection purposes only. We've got 6,000 gallons of water. That's where fuel oil. That's where John's standing. And around it, kind of shaped like a big horseshoe, is 25,000 gallons of water. The two auxiliary tenders behind there are roughly 28,000 gallons of water each. And that fuel oil and water combination will get us maybe 200 plus miles. If we don't have a diesel with us, that's pretty close to about 200 miles, maybe 220. If we have a diesel locomotive with us like these two over here, we can extend that range by taking some of the load, taking some of the load off the locomotive, and thereby reducing the fuel and water consumption, extending our range. The first four cars here, those are support cars. The most important of them all, they're all important, but the first one there is the tool car. As that name implies, all our tools and gear, oil and grease, all that's up there. All our spare parts are in the second car. You hear that generator running over there. That's our power car. And that's got a few rooms if we need them. And then the baggage car is an auxiliary support car. We've got, that thing is crammed to the gills with spare parts, spare grease, spare oil, spare tools, spare generators, spare water pumps, spare everything. Once we leave Cheyenne, aside from going to a hardware store and going to the grocery store every other day, we want to have all our critical equipment there. So heaven forbid if we have to take that locomotive apart, we can take big parts off of it if we have to. We prefer not to, but we've got tons of tools in there. And the last car is the Willie James. That's a staff car. That's where 4 of the guys stay with me. We're called the Home Guard. Our crew's divided into 2 very important groups. We've got the folks that go to the hotel. I call those the hotel guys. They go have a meal at night. They go to a hotel room. But that hotel room usually, their head doesn't hit the pillow till 10 o'clock, and that's probably the earliest they go to bed. So they've got a tough job. The Home Guard, we stay late at night, we work on the fire hydrant stuff, we do whatever we need to do, little incidental work on the locomotive, because we only have to go a few steps back to our bedroom. So I personally like the Home Guard. When we're done at work, my day is over with. All the important duties and responsibilities I have now concluded. I can go back and sit in the air conditioning for a few minutes.
Awesome. We have a lot of future little railroad employees here today. How does one get started in the railroad, and how does one come work on your team?
That's a great question. So like everything in life, you have to decide what you want to do. And no matter what that is, you want to be the best you can be. And that starts at home, listening to your mom and dad, listening to your grandma and grandpa, listening to your big brothers and sisters. Get good grades in school. When you get home from school, don't goof around. Don't play video games. Get your homework done first. If you do that when you're a little kid, the older you get, It's going to put you in a really good position to start to have some good things that you're going to need to have any job you want. So whatever you want to do in life, be passionate about it. Share your dreams with your family and your friends so they can help you. But you really want to get the best grades you can. Don't settle for B's and C's, get A's. I got a few B's and C's in my time, so I know what I'm talking about. You always want to ask your teacher, tell your teacher to help you. Hey teacher, I want to get an A, I got a B. What can I do to get an A, teacher? And your teacher's going to see that you're learning, see that you want to try, see that you're trying, and they're going to help you. And that's how you turn a B into an A. Well, let's say you need to turn a D into a C. That's okay. But no matter what, try your best. Follow your dreams and be passionate. Because if you follow your dreams and you be passionate, people are going to want you to work for them. And that's what you have to remember. In our world today, we want good people to do good jobs. And we need good people to do good jobs. So it starts out at home. Listen to your mom and dad. Take out the trash, mow the lawn, make your bed, do your homework. I know that sounds like I'm preaching to you, but you really have to. Right now, the guys are over there doing their homework, they're making their bed, they're doing their laundry, and it's in the form of all this hard work. They are working so hard right now. You can't see them because they're on the other side. Every now and then you can see water splashing over the top of the engine. You know how hot it is washing that locomotive? Do you know how hot John is up there right now?
Oh yeah.
John, how hot are you up there? He's very hot. And here in a few minutes, we're going to tell him to get down because he's so tough. He can take the heat. A lot of us are tough. We can take the heat, but we got to be careful. So that's the answer to your question. You follow your dreams, you follow your passion, but when you're little, you got to listen to mom and dad. Do what they say. Do your homework first.
I need to record that for my kiddo at home. All right, a couple more questions here. We've seen a lot of drone footage and drones flying around the train as it's been moving. Can you talk a little bit about how important drone safety is and safety in general? Again, just another reminder here.
Well, we do see a lot of drones, and I don't know all the technical details about what the rules are. That's not really where my responsibilities are. We want everybody to follow whatever those rules are, and I know they change, they're evolving. There's a big long-standing debate, as there is with everything on the internet. A lot of advice there, some of it's accurate. Find out what the real rules and laws are and comply with them. I think the obvious things are, don't fly the drones where they're going to be unsafe.
There you go.
I could reach out the window sometimes and grab one. We've had a few strike the engine, and in the early part of the trip in Iowa, one hit the locomotive and it came out of the blue, and a few feet toward the east, it would have hit me right in the face. It was just, you know, I'm sure that there's somebody trying hard to fly the thing. Maybe they lost control of it. So be very careful with those things. Be respectful of whatever those laws and rules are, because at the end of the day, when bad things happen, the laws and regulations get more stringent, and it makes it more difficult for everybody. So, and that goes the same for photography. If you got a big fancy camera, that doesn't give you right or license to stand on the railroad track, ever. There's never a situation where you're to be on the railroad tracks, ever. Think about that for a minute. We all laugh and we shrug it off like it's a funny statement, but we see a lot of people standing on the railroad tracks. So please be very respectful of laws and whatever rules there are. Don't fly it over people, and try not to fly and crash it into the locomotive, please.
All right, one last question, but before we get that, another friendly reminder, we have lots of water. Please help yourself. We want folks to stay hydrated. If you're feeling tired, there's shade tents, there's EMS. But as we wrap up here, this kind of Q&A session, Ed, as people go home, what's one thing you want them to take away from their experience with the big boys?
Well, I want you to take away how much we appreciate you and we value your support. We care for you. We want you to take advantage of this water. Go sit in the shade tent. Tell the story of what you've seen here and how great this big boy is and how great this project is, celebrating our nation's 250th birthday. Also remember how wonderful our country is, that we we can gather like this. We can have events like this. We can travel across the nation and this beautiful United States of America. We very proudly fly our nation's symbol on the right front of the locomotive, the beautiful American flag with the beautiful stars that we remember that we're all united. That's the beauty of it. The red, white, and blue. On the left side of the locomotive, we fly the state flag of the state that we're traveling through. And there's a lot of people that recognize that and appreciate that. How beautiful that is. It's a privilege to us. Several of us on the crew are military people. Excuse me. When I served in the military, I was in Europe during the Cold War, and that helped me, that solidified patriotism within me, having seen other countries and the challenges that they're facing, the economic conditions that they were facing at the time. It really brought home to me how blessed I am to live in this wonderful country and to have this position here and travel around with our locomotive. Look on the cars, it says America 250. It's a beautiful celebration. We've got our commemorative locomotive here for President Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president. And behind it, we've got this iconic yellow. Now, people have said, well, why don't you have a more fancy paint job? Well, if you ask me, that's a really fancy paint job. It's almost 100 years old. That yellow paint job there goes back to the streamliner era, back into the late 1920s and early 1930s, when the Union Pacific was working on updating its passenger trains. So that yellow paint scheme right there is almost 100 years old and makes us very proud. So again, everybody go take advantage of this free water. Look at that line over there. There's hardly nothing there. So get over there, get some of your free water. I'm going to go have one, and I'm going to go sit down in the shade. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you for getting that question in. That was a perfect way to end it. Oh, I see it now.
My mom is going to come. Karen. Karen. Oh, how many times? Yeah, go ahead.
So, this is like some nitty gritty one train. There are
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I have such a problem with the camera. The back far up.
We were doing 25 miles an hour. He was keeping up with us. And there was a whole group of people up there. He ended up crashing out 25 miles an hour. Really hurt him. And, you know, we're here for people to enjoy the locomotive, not to fall down, not to get heat exhaustion. It's going to happen. Their age to the best. Yeah. But we don't want people falling down and drowning. That's why I said. I know. I was like, there was a lady yesterday. She had a baby kid. She almost where it was going to get hit by the locomotive.
Mighty locomotive, big boy, big boy, big boy. 4014, big boy steam train. Roll on the main line, big boy, big boy, big boy. Roll on the main line, big boy, big boy. boy steam train. Mighty locomotive, big boy, big boy, big boy. 4014, big boy steam train. Across the heartland, big boy, big boy, big boy. Across the heartland, big boy steam train. Mighty locomotive, big boy, big boy, big boy. 4014, big boy steam train. Union Pacific, big boy, big boy, big boy. Union Pacific, big boy steam train. Mighty locomotive, big boy, big boy, big boy. 4014, big boy steam train.